Hey guys, hello and welcome to my channel. If you don't know me already, my name is Chelsea. I'm a Canadian tattoo artist and I've been tattooing for nearly 9 years as well as illustrating for about 15 years. If you're new to my channel, I should probably tell you what to expect out of my style. And one word I can really describe my work is odd. It is very odd and sometimes whimsical. You don't really know what to expect sometimes. Although some pieces are more on the tame side, some can definitely get a little wacky. I'm not gonna lie. Although I do like to make my videos a little more chill and relaxing. They're very good for just some nice background noise while somebody yaps away or with some nice chill tunes. It's a really good time, especially if you're also trying to draw. Then I know for myself personally that I love to have other people's drawings on in the background while I'm also creating. Sometimes it gives me the space or the inspiration to try something new or create something different. So I highly encourage you guys to watch while you're drawing or just watch for the hell of it, because why not? I believe my videos are very visually appealing and satisfying, whether it comes to the coloring, the sketching, or the detail work. You can definitely expect some satisfying content here, at least in my opinion. Another purpose for creating this channel is to actually help teach you guys how to draw. Though I may not be the best teacher, I will always try to answer questions fully and to the best of my ability. I'm also always open to any suggestions that you guys may have, or maybe even some future drawing ideas, because your girl is always lacking in ideas and I find inspiration in the weirdest places possible. One thing you guys can keep in mind though is that everybody's style is going to look extremely different, and it is really important to kind of find your own look to your work. You don't necessarily want your work to look exactly like the guy that you learned from, because you want yours to stand out from the crowd. Now, everybody's style is gonna look different. Mine looks very different compared to a lot of different new school artists out there. And as much as I try to replicate their styles, I just can't. My body just naturally knows what to do, and it has naturally created its own look to it. And that's definitely something that you guys will experience as you practice drawing more and more and more and get more comfortable with your supplies. As for supplies, I always start out with this Prismacolor Color Erase pencil, and I prefer these because I find graphite too heavy and too messy. These don't smudge as much as graphite would. These pencils come in all colors of the rainbow, so I typically find one that is either complementary or contrasting to the main color of the piece. But in this case, I was using a very light purple in some areas, and I just decided to use the dark purple because I didn't think the light purple with a very emerald looking green would look very nice underneath it, so we just stuck with that. And after I remove a little bit of the sketch, I will go in with my marker. The alcohol markers are actually a very new part of my routine, and they just act as a base layer or base coat for the pencil crayon. As for pencil crayons, I love to use the Prismacolor brand. I find the very waxy texture of the graphite, is that what you call it? I don't even know, but I find the very waxy texture to be really nice when it comes to blending. As a tattoo artist, I like to make a lot of custom colors, and the same goes for my illustrating as well, as I always end up mixing and blending a whole bunch of stuff together to make one very unique color. Although, as of late, I've really been trying to stick to a minimal palette and really use as little pencil crayon as I possibly can, because I want to preserve them. I don't want to have to buy a huge pack of pencil crayons because this brand is unfortunately quite expensive. So that's a bummer, but I have adapted and I've moved on and found a way that works where I can save as much pencil crayon as possible, but also keep the same funny look and interesting style that I have really created over the years. So now we've gotten a little further into this piece, and you guys are probably like, what the heck is going on here? Lots of people actually mistake these for grapes, which is not true at all. These are actually blackberries, and it's based off of a tattoo that I designed in my apprenticeship as a tattoo artist. I can remember this design being the very first tattoo that I was actually super proud of and thrilled to have done. I loved the turnout of it, and it's kind of funny because when I was an apprentice, I was originally moving towards doing a, what is it called, neo-traditional style of tattooing, which was very common at the time, but Now that it's been 15 years of drawing and almost a decade of tattooing, I really wanted to recreate this tattoo in my current style. And I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I think I captured my style perfectly with this piece, and it really showed such crazy amounts of growth compared to when I originally designed it. I'll insert a photo right here of the original tattoo that I had done, and you'll see such a crazy amount of growth that happened in, only the last 10 years, which sounds like a long time, but it has honestly flown by so fast, it blows my mind. One thing that I've really enjoyed putting into my style is a secondary light source, so that's why you're seeing this blue color being added in. And the reason I love including this so much is it gives the piece a lot of dimension and really allows you to see that 3D look that I always try to capture in my pieces, as well as expanding the color palette just a little bit more. I tend to like really vibrant colors, so usually this is a great way and a good excuse to add in another super bright color. So this is definitely a technique you can expect from my upcoming work, and it's also something I encourage you to try out for your own new school pieces. Like I said, it just brings in that extra little bit of color, and also makes it a little bit more of a challenge, to be honest, because you don't have to think about just one light source. Now you have to think about two and how those are going to work together. When trying to design new school pieces, I highly recommend you looking into light source and how that works, because it is very important when it comes to this style, because it is so exaggerated and typically does have a more 3D look to it. So it's really important that you have a good understanding of light source and how that works out. I should probably make a video about that someday, but honestly, I'm still learning as well, and I've just kind of guessed along the ways or picked it up somehow. I do follow a lot of different Illustrator accounts or tattoo accounts that are new school, so these are kind of just things I've picked up from looking at other people's work and started implementing into my own technique. Now, this leaf and the one below it were actually really hard to do because I didn't want such a harsh dark outline. I wanted it to look like the blue light was kind of cascading up the green. Because there isn't very much of a sharp edge or a sharp curve to the leaf, I had to come up with a way to make it look a bit softer of a color gradient. And as for the berries, I didn't want it to look like each berry was getting hit by that blue light. So I only added it on a few, and any of them that don't have any blue light on them, they are actually just kind of tucked in behind the other berries that are blocking that berry from that blue light source. I believe if I would have added too much of the blue, it would have gotten a little confusing for the design and maybe overpowered it too much. I still wanted this to look like blackberries, not blueberries, if that makes sense. And I think that blue would have really drowned out the purple color if I added too much. So a little goes a long ways here, and I think it really worked well with the color palette. Blue and purple go so well together, although red also would have really looked nice. But I think the main idea here for me was to do a little bit more of a cooler color palette rather than a warmer color palette, because I really wanted to add in this warmer tone to some of the blackberries, which in itself was also another very big challenge because I'm dealing with two different light sources and also dealing with two-tone berries, which it can be very hard to blend colors like this sometimes and make it look uniform, if that makes sense. I didn't want each little blackberry nub to have a different color. I just wanted to look like it melted all together into one very nice color. But here we are now, finally with the pencil crayon. And this is the part that really brings a whole piece together. It looks like crazy right now, but once all that pencil crayon and layering is done, you guys will be like, oh my god, this looks like a totally different piece. Now, the one thing I do have to complain about is purple is extremely hard to get used to and blend together. It seems like the purple color palette, or purple palette I should say, is very limited. So it's either extremely dark purple, extremely warm, extremely cold, or extremely light purple. It doesn't seem like there's ever an in-betweeny, unfortunately. So this piece actually made me want to pull my hair out because it was so tough to blend together. And honestly, I love the turnout of this piece, but I really wish I either blended it a bit more, but I'm very limited on the purples that I have. So for purple markers, I only have like 2 purple markers, and maybe like 4 or 5 different purple pencil crayons. So that's the hard part about it, but we got through it, made it work. When you look at it from a distance, it looks great, so that's what I'm happy about. And the fact that I just got it done. It looks really good with this green color. And honestly, I never realized how hard leaves are to draw. Like, I've tattooed so many leaves in my life, but I feel like I can never get them just right, if that makes sense. I really tried something different here, and I wanted to do a couple different tones of leaves, like one a little more cooler and one a bit warmer and lighter, much like this one I'm working on right now versus the one beside it. And I think it turned out great. I can't complain too much. Usually there's always something I have to complain about, so you guys will have to get used to that. That's the artist mind. We always have to critique our own work. It's just a natural part of the process, and honestly, keeps your mind open for growth and opportunities to learn something new, which is always something I like to push on people, is keeping an open mind, because that is the only way you are going to make growth in your style, and you just have to, or else the ego takes over and you stay a horrible artist. That's why I try not to toot my own horn too much, because I know I will let that ego take over, and I don't want that. I really don't. I've been working so hard on this style, and it's just not quite at the place where I want it to be at yet. I'm always trying to look at the next best way to do something when it comes to designing a tattoo or just drawing in general. So we're partway through now, and I went ahead and finished the rest of the blackberries that didn't have any secondary light on them. And now we're moving on to this one that has more of the pink hues to it. I know you can see different kinds of blackberries or ones that have different coloring to them, so that was definitely something I wanted to capture. And also give myself that little bit of extra challenge that I apparently needed. But I'm definitely happy with my color choice and adding in this more red tone. I feel like it contrasts really nicely with the blue color of the secondary light. So in my eyes, it was a great addition. And it was actually partway through that I decided to do the reflective light. And honestly, it really just was the icing on top of the cake, or the cherry on top, as some may say. It really just helped shape it that much more, because I was really feeling it looked a little bit too flat for my liking when it wasn't there. This definitely helped separate each individual bulb, if you can say. I don't even know what the name is for, you know, those little round things on each berry, but I think you guys know what I mean. After doing a majority of these berries though, oh my god, I had no idea how tedious this process of drawing this was gonna be, just because you have to go in and do the same thing over and over and over and over again just because of each individual little bulb. I think that's probably why I wanted to change up the color so much and also add in this secondary light, just because I probably would have gone absolutely insane if I only had to carry on this purple throughout, and it would have just bored me. And with boredom definitely comes laziness, so yeah, we tried to avoid that as much as possible, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. Even though purple can be such a pain in the butt to work with, I really wish there was a way to get more colors or just more tones of purple. I don't know if it's just difficult to make or what the process is, but We definitely need a little more versatility when it comes to purple, and maybe one day that can happen. But I'm gonna leave that in someone else's hands because I have no clue how to start. And I already know I mentioned this, but I really just don't understand how to draw leaves. I've drawn so many and tattooed so many, but I feel like I just can't get it right. I'm really kind of frustrated with how the leaves turned out, to be honest. I wish I put a little bit more effort into them, but this is definitely a case of doing the best I could with what I know, and maybe I need to look up leaf references a bit more. I just can't remember ever seeing many leaves in a new school style, unless I'm just not looking out for them, but maybe I should try to find some new school leaf reference and go from there. I'm sure there's plenty that I'm definitely not seeing, and I should probably look out a little harder for it. So we're coming up on the last few minutes of the video, and the main reason I wanted to show you guys this part specifically was because I have all the colors intertwined together in this one little section, so it kind of gives you guys an idea, or you can maybe watch and see how I blend everything together and make it all smooth, especially in the case that I have so many different light sources and different colors. It can be very hard to figure out how to blend them all together, and hopefully you guys can kind of pick up a way to do so, maybe in your own style or, you know, with different colors, because this definitely works with all the colors of the rainbow. You can pretty much mix any single color together. I could do purple and yellow or green and pink, anything like that. It just depends on what color you choose. But we're done with the pencil crayon finally, and just heading on to the lining and marker portion of the video, which is always one of my favorite parts because it really just holds everything together perfectly, and it's the ultimate cherry on top, if you know what I mean. But because this piece is so dark already, I didn't actually need too many black lines to finish everything. It was mainly just the pieces that got blurred together a little bit throughout the process, and then separating those lighter purples from the white of the paper. That way it just defined them that little bit more. And then the leaves also, they were quite dark as well, so they didn't need too much, which made this like a really super fast part of the process. But here is the final boss, the white outline. This part definitely helps separate a lot of the blackberries from each other because they can kind of start to look connected, if that makes sense, especially because they are so dark. And this white highlight or halo really helps make each one individual. The paint marker that I'm using is actually the Sharpie brand. I just discovered it and I really like them. They are a little scary to use, I'm not gonna lie, just because they can end up very thick, but I'm very happy with how the white highlight turned out, and it wasn't too thick for my liking, which is perfect. But unfortunately, the video has come to an end and we finally made it to the final amazing, super awesome shots. And I really hope you guys like this design. And I also challenge you guys to recreate old designs of yours and make them brand spanking new. I also want to shout out my new Patreons. I appreciate you so much and thank you for joining. It's really what keeps me going.